Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions, the virtual sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, with my guests coming in from Lake Arrowhead via Los Angeles. We have Arroyo Low, aka Dane Sandberg. Board coming in. I had a typo there. Sometimes typos come in my notes, and then I got to look at the screen and realize the right name. But Dane, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I am doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. I was listening to your latest album on Spotify earlier, and we'll be talking about that in a few moments. But really, really amazing stuff there. Is that the first album that you?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Is that the first?
Is that the first album
produced?
that that is the first album that I've produced on my own completely. But I've worked with a lot of other bands and a lot of other projects that were more collaborative. You know, I think this was my first like solo venture where I carried through the vision and I kind of brought in all the different elements, and yeah. So as far as on my own, yeah.
Well, you started at the age of 8 playing the saxophone, the bass guitar at the age of 13, and you've opened for bands such as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who I just saw in Seattle last week. And I'll tell you, those guys are still rocking the stage. It was an amazing show. Congratulations on making it that way or that far. But the question I'd like to know is, where does your artist name Arroyo Low come from?
So the origin of that really is that, so I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and my grandparents lived in North Pasadena alongside a big natural thoroughfare called the Arroyo Seco, and I used to go walking with them all the time. You know, back when I was really little, and they were more mobile, but we'd always go walking alongside there because there's a giant park, and I was spending, you know, I mean, that was my childhood growing there all the time, and then during the pandemic, you know, when I was sort of doing the deep dive to kind of figure out, you know, well, what am I going to call this project, or what am I going to do? I was hiking and walking on that, and I had this like sort of like this remembrance of all these memories and being there, and so I figured like, well, I really like Arroyo. It means something to me. Arroyo it's like, it translates to dry creek bed, and I think there was some or dry stream rather, and I think there was some symbolism there for me that really was powerful, just as far as what a stream means in my life, and how it's, you know, you have either side of the bank and there's chaos or rigidity and you're just moving down it this way, and so there's that, and then the low being sort of the grounding force of like being a bass player and connecting with that and kind of like that low end frequency. So it was sort of like this combination of both like memory and nostalgia mixed with like the symbolism of just a stream and what that means in my life, and how it's always like a consistent symbol for me, but also just like kind of like a sort of like a mantra, and how I kind of bounced from things and situations, you know. So yeah, that's the origin of the name.
And if you could describe your music in 3 words, how would you describe it?
That's a tough question. I'd say, I mean, like genre specific wise, kind of more like that, or like, yeah. I mean, I'd say
Three
like,
descriptive verbs. No, verbs are for doing words. Adjectives. Three adjectives. Gosh, okay. I did take English in college 3 times. Um, adjectives. 3 adjectives to describe your music.
adjectives. Um, Contemplative, um, invoking. I think that's an adjective. Um, and um, meditative. Um,
I like that.
I think is a good word, but
Yeah.
but it's also it's more than those. I only had 3 words, but like, but those are at least like the things that came to mind right now. You know, um, but the other 3 words, if they were more like musical genre specific things, would be electronic, lo-fi, jazz. And that's kind of where I've found myself.
And just a few moments ago, you were talking about the inspiration for your artist's name and where that came from. What are 3 things that create inspiration for you musically? Like, do you have something that really says, I get into this or I do this? Or what 3 things create inspiration for you on a musical level?
On a musical level, nature, for sure.
Mhm.
Being in nature. I mean, that's why I'm here where I am right now. Um, and to add to that, I mean, most of this record, I the first few songs on the record, I started recording in Three Rivers at the beginning of the pandemic as part of just being able to, like, I had to get out of LA, and we went there. We ended up staying there for a month, but I recorded a bunch of music. So nature is a big one. I've always loved making music on my own and practicing, but I think I always prefer to collaborate, because I just feel like there's something special, just the alchemy of something. Because you never know how you're going to look at an idea a different way. You're going to hear something different. Someone's going to interpret something differently. So that was, collaboration is a huge inspiration and a big thing for me for music, especially in this project where I was able to pick and choose of my vast network of friends and people I've been around my whole life. Like, it's like, I want to have this drummer, or I want to have this guy, or I want to have this guy. And it wasn't like mutually exclusive, although I have on the record, there's one of my best friends, Aaron, playing drums on 3 songs. And then my best friend and bandmate, Dylan, who's playing drums on a bunch of other stuff. And then this other guy who I collaborate with, who's a singer and a drummer, he's playing on this couple songs. And then some songs are just me producing beats. So it's kind of like, but everything shifts that way. And so collaboration, I said nature, collaboration, playing live, like live is like performing is I think has always been one of the most inspiring and fun things for me to do. And it always, I feel like one informs the other as far as recording music or performing. I find that, especially as I'm already thinking about recording new music, and I just put this out, so it goes. I've been playing a lot of shows, and all of that is now informing how I want to record my next batch of music. Especially, it's so inspiring for me, just the way that you help facilitate a situation. You're facilitating a show, you're facilitating art, how you're creating connection with an audience, in real time. Like you can listen to. I mean, I'm so happy for my music to reach people and they can listen to it. But there's something so special about sharing physical space and witnessing somebody connect to it. Hopefully, like so. Yeah,
Absolutely. And the new album titled 2020 was just released on July 29th. And I was listening to the whole album while I was doing the research on you today, getting questions and everything. And I got to say, Moments came on, and I instantly gravitated towards that, because out of everything that was, like you said, kind of meditative and calming, and I got a sense of nature from those songs, that this one felt a little bit more clubby, a little bit more something I might hear at a martini bar or a down-tempo ambient track. Like, it felt a little bit more upbeat and made me want to get out in the sun and go to the beach and have some summertime fun. Was that intentional for that track to kind of have kind of a club it sounded like something like maybe what the tracks you were making, it sounds like it is more geared towards live performance, but Moments kind of came in as something that a DJ could put on and play in a set. Was that designed that way?
No, like, because what's funny is that, so I mean, I have to admit, like, I didn't know I was making a record. I was recording all these songs for the sake of recording them for activity's sake, because I couldn't play shows, so I was just like, whenever I sat down to work on music, I was like, I'm going to record this, I'm going to record that. So it was almost like I was working on music in a vacuum, and I was just really being motivated by what felt inspiring to do, or who I decided I was going to work with that day. And then but when it all came set together, and then the album came together, I realized that it took so many twists and turns in different ways, but no, it really wasn't intentional that I thought about it being in any specific place. It was more just about whenever, after the facts, realizing that wherever people would feel like listening to it. So
awesome. And you recently just had an album release show in Venice the other night. I saw some of the shots on Instagram. It looked like a really awesome setting, really interesting venue. But what caught my attention on that post is that you offered cassettes and NFTs that were available for that. I want to first we'll talk about the NFTs. We'll go down that rabbit hole in a few moments. But cassette tapes, I heard something online that cassettes were kind of making a comeback in a sense. What was your choice on going with cassette tapes?
A lot of the record I recorded on a 4-track tape machine, and it was a Tascam 464 for anybody listening who's curious. But I really love I love the way it makes things sound. It's like, there's always there's lo-fi, there's mid-fi, there's hi-fi. I really liked playing with it. I liked having a different step other than just going directly into the computer. It really sounded amazing. It sounds particularly good to me with drums and vocals and different things. So there was that, which I really enjoyed using for the album. But another thing was I really wanted to have something physical for the record. And, it's rare for most people to have a cassette player these days, but maybe it would inspire people to get one. And I really just like the idea of having something physical. I mean, that was the main thing. And I feel like I could have made CDs, even, which is still even harder now, but a cassette was fine. And the reason why still I chose a cassette is I wanted something that was analog, that was on tape, right? And I mean, vinyl, I'm going to make vinyl, but the pragmatic decision between getting vinyl versus a cassette was that vinyl is still super, super, super backed up. And I wouldn't have had anything physical by the time my record came out, even if I ordered it right away. So I think the plan is we're going to have cassettes, and, people are buying them, and you can find them on my website or my links, and they're $10. And it has the whole record, and my fiance made the artwork. And it was fun to have something physical like that, and people, can just hold on to it or go buy a cassette player.
One of the things that takes me back was the mentioning of when you mentioned the Tascam 4-track recorder. I grew up. My brothers were musicians when I was growing up, and my dad kind of lavished a lot of gear on them. And one of the first things he bought them was a Tascam 4-track recorder that I used to play around with. And I never really knew. I was like 8 years old. This is the early '80s, by the way. And we had a Tascam 4-track. We had another big 8-track recorder. We had keyboards, rack mounts, all this stuff for my brothers. They were in punk rock bands, but I remember seeing that 4-track recorder, and that was my first time understanding that a tape cassette actually had 4 tracks on it, and you could buy these higher end like gold quality cassette tapes to make your masters on using the Tascam recorder. I don't know if yours is probably, I know Tascam's still around, I believe, but if yours is a newer version or if it's like some older version of it, but that just like brought me down memory lane of playing with that and showing how you could record vocals, a guitar, a bass guitar, and then play it all back on a tape. And then you'd bounce out that master to a regular cassette tape. And that was like my first I guess my first experience ever mastering, or seeing that process at a home studio level happening. So again, that's awesome. You put the whole album on that. But and also totally understand about, that collectible item thing. That makes so much sense. I think cassette tape is something that's going to be memorable. And yeah, if it sparks somebody to go get a cassette tape, a tape player from, they're all over. You find them at thrift stores all the time now. They're out there, or you can go online and buy one off eBay, or I'm sure like Urban Outfitters is probably selling some retro tape cassette player,
Yeah, they do.
I think Urban Outfitters are still around. Maybe I just dated myself, but anyways, that's awesome. It's just something, you're right, that would be a talking piece or something you could own. But talking about what you can own, there's a second component that you released, and that was NFTs. Tell us about your NFT and the process of why you chose to make an NFT for this.
Yeah, so I mean, like, ultimately, and there's a lot of like, side conversations about cryptocurrency and all that stuff, and it's like just in the air. But ultimately, I wanted to create just additional digital art, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, regardless of what Bitcoin or Ethereum is doing, it doesn't matter to me. Obviously, it's like, I mean, yeah, it'd be cool, like if it has value, but really the biggest thing for me was I wanted to express on a different platform, and that's the way that I look at it. And these are like one of one unique pieces of artwork that if you purchase one, it's one of a kind. And so there's 12 NFTs, digital art pieces. My fiance Amanda SB inspired the artwork, and then my partner in visuals, Michael Rawlings, took that and turned it into a 3D space. And it's they're really beautiful. I'm really so proud of how they turned out. But there's 12 one-of-one NFTs, and if you purchase one, you also get a remixed version of a song. You'll get a cassette. You'll get access to free shows, either whether you live in a different state or regionally. Like if you purchase this, you will get different free shows, and you'll also get content before I put it out, and different things, and it's all listed on the website, or on the it's all available through OpenSea, which is the platform. And then additionally, there's 100 free images of each of those as well. So if you wanted just to go on there and get a free piece of artwork, it exists as an NFT, that's there too. And I know I just said a lot, but the big inspiration, I guess with that, the primary reason of wanting to do NFTs is, once again, I just wanted to express myself on a different platform, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what that means for both musicians and visual artists. I think music is kind of finding its place in it a little bit, and it's starting to expand even more. There's an artist, you might know him. He's called Rack, RAC. He's I think he's from Portland, but he's incredible artist, incredible electronic musician, who's been sort of kind of pioneering, kind of leading the way as far as how cryptocurrency and NFTs have a place in music and how that all works together. He's an incredible visual artist who makes his own, and he was an inspiration in that too. And there's also a company called Sound XYZ that's very, very interesting as how it connects to music. So there's just a lot of innovation and pioneering happening in it. And I think it's exciting to see how it can also just help out artists like myself or other artists out there, and as far as being able to like create a platform to continue to make art, but also just it changes the way things are expressed a little bit, and that's exciting. You know, it's like the innovation of this how we create is cool. So
Absolutely. And, you know, we're trying to explore the NFT space as well because we create a lot of video content in the ways of interviews and exclusive mixes and in our shows. And we're trying to figure out how we get like this interview and make this interview an NFT that we could then add your wallet to it. And if a collector buys it and holds on to it, and then they own a piece of the original interview, they can go watch the interview all they want on our site. But as a collector or a fan, they say, I want to own that, I want to support, but we can tie your wallet into it. So if it ever transfers, you're getting something, we're getting something for in perpetuity as that cycles around, if it does cycle around.
exactly.
And I think that's a really awesome thing. You know, I just came up with an idea because I like what you're doing with NFT and taking it one more step, actually a few more steps past just a piece of artwork or just a track. You're putting in the tickets to a show. Basically, what I heard you say, when you put all that list of items that you put there, you're getting an NFT membership to Arroyo Low. And I had to make a note of that because exactly. I'm like, that's the thing that's going to go to my head, because we have a membership program, and inside of the membership, if you're a member every year, we're going to gift you an NFT as a member. But why not make the membership itself an NFT, and then the package comes with all this stuff? I think that's even a better option. So thank you for that, Dane. I really appreciate it. You know, but it's totally. A creative way that problem. I think
it's cool. I mean, because
I was going to say, you know, one of the cool things I've heard people do is there's a show that's done, and you buy an NFT for like $1,000, but that is your ticket to the show for the rest of eternity, and you can transfer that ticket to other people and sell it off. If you don't want to go to the show anymore, you transfer the NFT ticket, and boom, now they got a ticket to go to the show, but it's a permanent ticket to all future shows. And it's like really, really, I was like, that's really cool. Or it's like you have the ability to buy a ticket to the show or something like that if you hold the NFT. It was really cool stuff. And you were going to say something?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, just on that note, it's like the golden ticket, right? It's like, so it's like that's the, it's like you're adding something that has like something that exists in digital space but holds value in physical space, right? Because I mean, I love everything. It's so fascinating what's happening in the metaverse and Web3 and all this stuff. And like sometimes my brain is just like, what's happening? I don't understand. But you know, I am excited about it because, once again, how it's going to create innovation for creativity. But for me, the main thing is still there being some sort of connection between physical space. And that's important to me. Like, you know, you can choose to experience this in whichever way you want, but whatever your preference or your choice is, you can do it. Like, you know, I want to watch the show online in my living room. Amazing. Great. You know, I want to go and see the show in person and, you know, have that experience. That's amazing. I want to, you know, display with an infinite object this beautiful piece of artwork with remix. Amazing. I want to have this so I can listen to the cassette, or I can go to the shows and get unreleased content. So it's like I just tried to make it so that any sort of like music fan or collector would have like there's like a wide like a diverse benefit to doing it. And I think that's where music and NFTs in particular have the ability to sort of like be more than just getting, you know, a static JPEG. It's more than that. It's more like it's how are you connecting and communicating with your fans and your community.
And don't forget virtual reality venues as well.
Yeah, it's true.
We just launched two virtual reality nightclubs in alt space, and we're super excited to. We've soft launched them, but we're getting ready to do the grand opening on them, and they're just much more than a place where you go in and you walk through and look at this cool space. You're able to watch our live streams. You'll be able to do artist meet and greets. We can do record release parties. We can do comedy nights. We could do open mic nights. I mean, it's a venue that people can actually rent out. I mean, it's when people go into our nightclub and they're like, this thing is freaking huge. Most people have these little spaces and they're like, this is a multi-room tiered complex. And I go, and that's just called beta. That's not even version 1 yet of what we're going to be doing.
That's crazy.
And, yeah.
I want to check that out.
Yeah. If you go to our website, you go up the top and click on VR. It'll take you to the VR page, tell you all about it, give you the codes to go there in alt space. You can do it from a laptop and or Oculus headset to get in. But enough about me and the DJ sessions. We'll be giving those links later. Get back to you. If you take a look at the list of productions that you've done so far, which of those stand out the most to you and why? Which one stands out the most?
On the record?
On the record or even
general?
Something from the past in general.
Okay. I'll start with the record. On the record, so the second single, Limousine, which I did with one of my best friends, Corey Amarshuro. His artist name is Monuro. That one really stood out to me or that song in general, because I felt like the whole song from beginning to end was done in like 30 minutes. And that's always a good feeling. Sometimes you're like, I don't know about this one, or like, oh, I really like it, but then you put it away for like months and then you come back to it and you're like, oh, I guess it's done. But this one, I knew right away it was special. I made the instrumental track on my own in Topanga, and I was like excited about it. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's kind of fun vibe. It's moody. And then I sent it to him. He doesn't say anything. And then about an hour later, he sends it back, but with all the melodies and the vocals and everything on it. And I'm just like, what is this? And then it was a totally different thing. And I was like, this is amazing. I probably listened to it like 100 times, like right after that. And then I was like, okay, well, yeah, this is something. And then I got it mixed and mastered shortly thereafter. And that was kind of like one of the first songs of the record that was like done right away, because it was just sort of, it was a good it was like a good nudge to be like, okay, this is good, these are good. Like, I just needed to like put it together and do it. So that was a special moment with the production too. And also it was a special moment, I think, I talk about this with a lot of my fellow collaborators and artists in general. It was like, just not to overthink it. It's like, it's funny how that simple thing that we talk about all the time could be such a obstacle that is so hard to get around, even though it can be totally an illusion. But it gave me the confidence I needed at that time to really do it. So there's that song. Another song production wise that was really fun. I mean, yeah, Moments you brought up, that was the tape machine. I did the bass and the drums on the tape machine, and I remember how fun that was. And I did the rest of the instruments by myself afterwards. And I recorded the bass and the drums onto the task. And those were the first things on that song that were recorded. So I had no idea what I was going to do beyond that. But I did that with Dylan Grombacher, and put it on the tape machine. The next day I bounced it to my computer and I added saxophone and harmonium and guitar, and it just felt great. So another song off the record, production note, the song High Veil, which is a very lo-fi sounding tapey song. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with that one, but I just remember recording it on the tape machine itself. And it was funny, like, I think the tape was old, but it had definitely like more. I remember being like, oh, it's more hissy than it should be. But then the more I listened to it, it was like, well, it's kind of nice. It kind of feels like warm, and like nostalgic, and just it felt like Topanga Canyon. High Vale is the name of the street where my studio is, and
Okay.
I I just I liked it. It was my friend Alex and I. Like, I mean, I ran the session. He played some guitar on it. I put everything else on it, and I was like, literally, like, there's like literally no digital manipulation to it. Maybe the teeniest little bit, but that's basically exactly what it sounded like off the tape machine. Um,
I don't think any kid, let me put this, I'm sorry, kid. I don't think anyone born after the year 2000 would know what tape hiss actually is.
well, yeah, and it's also funny too because like there's so many plugins now where you can artificially create that,
Yeah.
um, and some that are really good. Like
Mhm.
there's a plugin called Sketch Cassette from Abherent DSP, which is amazing, and um, Good Hertz makes these really great plugins that they're in. They work with the guys from Wolfpack,
Okay.
and so they have some really cool stuff there too. But you're right.
And when
um,
do you make music with the intention? I mean, was the intention to make a popular record, or do you make music solely just to satisfy yourself? And the success that comes with it is a nice side effect.
I'd say it's a little bit of both. Like I want, like I have, I definitely have a desire to reach as many people as I can with my music. I think, but I definitely have also connected with. I make music for myself. Like I think like myself first. As far as like, I mean, it's my meditation, it's my healing, it's my practice, it's my religion. Um I am I am so grateful just to be able to do it. Like, given how many other things are going on in the world, I mean, the fact that I still get to go to my studio and make music, like, it's a blessing. I'm really grateful for that. And but I mean, going back to the record, it's like I didn't know that Limousine was going to be Limousine. I made this little, like, oh, this is a cool, like, hip hop electronic track, and then the song comes back. I'm like, whoa, this is something totally different, and and really feeling into like what I want to do as a producer now. Now it's like I have like and performing live too. I have a much clearer vision of where I want to take this project, and and how I want to angle it. I mean, and yes, commercial success would be nice, but like I'm not like chasing that down as it being the barometer of whether or not I think my music is good or if I like it. Just because it doesn't get on a playlist doesn't mean it's bad. It's like it's does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm doing it for me. I love it. If I was doing it, if I was making music purely for the aspect of like having it needed to make success and do all this stuff, I probably would have stopped a long time ago. And like I'm really and I'm very grateful for the successes that I have had. The fact that I got to release a record and put it out and like perform to a bunch of people, I like that's a success. Like the playlist that I got on, that's a success. The fact that I'm having this sorry, the bus. The fact that I'm having this interview with you right now, that's a success. I'm happy. Like I'm grateful. More and more is happening. And um, I got to go on some great tours. I plan to go on more. I'm like so I feel good, and obviously I'm gonna keep working so I can expand and reach more people. And that's the goal, you know.
Hmm.
But does that look like a mansion in Malibu? No, I don't need that.
Yeah, I totally hear you. After doing this show, a lot of people, we've had some great successes. Like you said, the interview with you today for me is a success. The interview before, everything that goes on. I just put something up on Facebook, and a lot of people they think that I vague book on Facebook a lot, and I do because I realize from some standpoints that if I tell people what I'm up to, a lot of people are competitors, And then I'm kind of giving them away the secret sauce of what I'm up to. And then they go, well, I better start doing that too. And then I'm like, no, I can't give away the secret sauce. So I kind of do these blasts like once a quarter of like, this is what I've really been up to. And here's what all the vague books means. And my friends there, and I put this out on Instagram and everyone, they're like, wow, I didn't know you really are up to that much stuff. I'm like, yes, I just don't sit behind a computer and do interviews and hit record, stop, and go live. There's so much more going on to this. And what you just saw in this big paragraph is about 40%. I still,
Yeah.
there's stuff I can't even talk about right now because I'm either under NDA, it's in contract, it's in place, something's just happening. But, you know, every little thing, I think I liked what you said there, is a success. And how do you measure one success? You know, it's to the individual. If they feel successful, that they're doing something, that's cool. You know, my thing that I get into is when somebody says, oh, well, I'm better than you, or and it's like, well, that's great. How? What if I'm feeling that what I'm doing is 100% what I want to be doing? How's that ego that can come into play, especially in the music industry? And it does happen a lot in the electronic music world, you know, unfortunately. But you know, I look at it from a competitive nature as well, too, that you don't want to psych yourself out of the game. You know, you do want to be
No.
driving yourself forward. And if you go out there with the intent and you put that mantra out there that this album sucks, this album sucks, this album sucks, or this show sucks, or this show's, then you're probably going to get crappy results. You know, it probably isn't going to go very far. But, you know, as long as you keep a positive mental attitude about it and you define what success means to you, you should be okay. Which brings me to a really, really awesome topic. Great segue here. You have on your website a quote from one of my favorite people in the entire world, Mr. Alan Watts. And it was so funny that I was looking at your website, read that quote, and the interview that I was doing right before this with Alexandra from Toronto, Canada, I actually quoted an Alan Watts quote to her, or I paraphrased, I should say, one of my favorite things, you may have seen this on YouTube, was "What do I desire?" If you're familiar with that one, it's such a huge mantra for me. I listen to it probably once a year when I'm talking to people. I say, you want to be pumped up? Listen to this. I mean, it's just so perfect. And what do you desire? It means so much to me. Because when I was in college, my philosophy teacher, he said I would go a little bit towards Noam Chomsky or Alan Watts, you know, before I knew who those two were. And it was so serendipitous that here I am quoting Alan Watts, basically paraphrasing Alan Watts in an interview right before this. And there's Alan Watts on your site. What does Alan Watts, or what does he mean to you?
No, so much. I mean, like Alan Watts I think for at this point, multiple generations, was the first person to really, in very plain terms, put that forth of like what it is that you desire, and it's okay to do that, and without like separating like societal shame. I mean, Alan Watts is somebody that trained to be a minister his whole school and his whole life, and was going to become a priest, and then he had to go travel the world doing missions. And then while he was doing that, he came to the conclusion that there were so many different ways to find God, and then was like, well, I can't just be a minister and teach this one way, you know? And then some years later, he founded the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, and then literally became, you know, like a rock star, you know, as far as like free thinking and philosophy. And I was introduced to Alan Watts, like really like his words, when I was like 19, 20. So yeah, like 19, 20. So 15 years ago, I'm 35. I just turned 35. Um, and it was really like life changing for me. I mean, I read The Wisdom of Insecurity like 4 times, and you know, and my wife to be is a therapist. She's a Jungian therapist, and so Alan Watts and Carl Jung and all those thinkers, and just the way that they approach life and concepts, really influenced me, to be okay with who I am and work with my shortcomings, you know. So Alan Watts is definitely of like someone very special and dear to my heart, you know. But one of, you know, some of these one of many literary figures in my life. You know, I was I went to Malibu High School in Malibu, and I was there, you know, during a really special time when there was a lot of really amazing musicians there, including Blake Mills, Lewis Cole, who's a friend of mine. I love Lewis, who plays drums. He has, you know, Nowhere and his project, and he was all over the last Thundercat record, and a number of other people. But when I was about from age 20, from about age, 2021 till about 25, 26, there were these metaphysical meetings at this artist named Lee McCloskey's house in Malibu. And myself and a few friends would go every week on Tuesday nights, and we would be the youngest people there next to a bunch of like philosophers or doctors, psychologists, writers, you know, him. And he's like this total, like, just genius artist. You know, he's been referred to as the West Coast Alex Gray, you know, but like, but he's amazing. But we were talking, you know, I was introduced to Carl Jung, Alan Watts, you know, Joseph Campbell, like Aldous Huxley, all these things. I had this like really fortunate period of time to get all this stuff done. And, you know, he, if you're a Flying Lotus fan, he did the artwork for Cosmogramma through David Wexler, whose artist name is Dr. Strangeloop. He started Strangeloop Studios. I also went to school with him. He was going to these meetings at the same time and brought Flying Lotus over, and Flying Lotus was like, whoa, and then was like, that's got to be artwork. So it was that space and that time.
That is awesome. And I mean, it kind of gives me a segue into my next question too. It sounds like that was a huge influence on your life,
Yeah,
obviously.
huge.
But who has been your biggest influence when it comes to your artist career, and why?
Other than my fiance? No, she's watching. I got you. Biggest influence. She's amazing. I'm very lucky, and she's been so supportive, and a big reason why I've been able to put this out, just with her encouragement. I think, as far as like artists and musicians go, I would say, it's going to be a multi-tiered answer.
Sure.
You know, for one of my favorite bands of all time is Radiohead and Tom York, you know, in general. And it's been like, you know, I definitely have over listened to them. It's not, it's like, they were so inspirational to me, just as far as, just what they did as far as a band, and a band that was like being okay with just going whichever direction they wanted, not necessarily doing what they thought people wanted to hear. You know, as far as going back to the Alan Watts thing, what do you desire? Very clearly, it is that they desired whatever they wanted, and it worked. So for them, Radiohead for sure. You know, Alice Coltrane is a big influence of mine, you know, which, you know, Flying Lotus, like I feel like his early EPs and early James Blake and all that time in like 2009, 10, 11, when the airliner was still going off, and Low End Theory was happening, like that whole scene was so inspirational to me. And during that time, I wasn't even making this kind of music. I was playing in like a hard rock band, you know, like, you know, but like I was like, but that was like, I want to do that. Like I wanted to do that, you know. I was just so inspired by the community and what was happening, and, you know, seeing like Thundercat play with Flying Lotus and Gaslamp Killer and all these guys talking and working and like playing every week at this place. And that was really, really inspiring. And that still is happening, you know, and it's evolved now. It's into Brain Feeder Records. And, you know, I'm really inspired by Leaving Records in LA. They're one of my favorite record labels that's putting out new music. I'm really inspired by the notion of all genre, which I think I touched on unknowingly with my record, because I love so many different types of music. And I think that's going to inform me doing some of the same things that I did on this record, but what's to stop me from doing like a drum and bass track or doing something else more traditional? Because I've made so many different types of music for so long, so that's inspiring to me. I'm really inspired by Fortet. I'm really inspired by Bonobo. I'm really inspired by Mind Design. I'm really inspired by Carlos Nino, who's been a really close friend and mentor of mine, and I've done a lot of work with him, and he's in the ambient jazz scene, and that's he's been a huge supporter of me in different groups, and he's really inspiring to me. But yeah, I mean, there's so much inspiration to pull from. I mean, bass player wise, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about the Chili Peppers, Flea, of course, Jaco Pastorius, Thundercat, John Entwistle, John Paul Jones. Like, my first band was a blues rock trio. So like I was like a psychedelic blues rock, classic rock kid for 7 years, and then I went a different route.
Awesome. Do you think
so
you'd ever stop making music in favor of another art form?
No, I would just. I mean, like, no, probably not. I mean, like, the other art forms that I really enjoy, are I love to write. When I do it, I do enjoy painting. I do and drawing. I would say the one that I would like to invest more time into, because I believe they go hand in hand, is like just filming. It's like just filming more stuff, taking photos. Like, I have an iPhone. I don't own a camera, but I love photography, and I love capturing video. So I couldn't see myself just doing that, but I think that for some of the videos, right, for instance, that I have that I upload on my YouTube channel, some of that was just me filming stuff, or me filming with Michael, who captured a lot of stuff and then threw me in a crazy visual world. So
that was my next question. I always love it when the guest, you have no pre-notion or precursor of what I'm going to ask you next, but literally when they finish their sentence and it's segueing right into my next question, which is the music videos I saw, who produces those? And you just answered that question before I was going to ask it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's just you out there just shooting, having fun, or is that something that you mentioned? It's kind of a hobby or a passion of yours to do that?
Well, so most of the videos that are online were done with Michael Rollins, who I'm going to see later today. Michael Rollins has been amazing to work with. He's an incredible VJ. I mean, he's gonna it's really just a matter of time, but I really think he's gonna be like a name. Like, I'm very fortunate and really blessed to work with him. He's amazing. He's a visual artist, and he just was able to take broad stroke ideas that I've had and just turn them into really immersive environments, and also taking artwork that Amanda made and creating a theme off of that. So, but yeah, for the videos where you see me and I'm kind of walking around or coming in and out of stuff, that was him with a camera, just being like, all right, let's go on a hike, and then taking a shot and then weaving me into here. And some of it's in Joshua Tree, some of it's up where we are right now, some of it was in Topanga, some of it is the video for Limousine, Corey's sister shot walking around Los Angeles. And I do have some other videos coming out, one in a couple weeks, and then some others in the fall for the additional songs on the record. But yeah, I mean, it was just really like, we just went and did it. We just kind of, it was really easy.
Awesome. I used to, Run and Gun Productions back in the day when I grew up. We were the first family to have a VCR, a video camera, on the block. And this is like 1979, 1980, which really got me into doing video at such a young age. I was 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, playing with that. And then in high school, I took the first ever video production course offered in Washington State at our high school. Came right out of high school. Yeah, that was 92. came right out of high school and started working on a public access hip hop television show for years, and was more of a glorified over glorified production assistant for years, because that's all we had. You had broadcast television and public access, and the gear, in order to get a broadcast television show, you had to have broadcast quality gear. Well, that was in the tens of thousands of dollars, but we could easily pick up a VHS camera and go shoot something at a nightclub and then go to the studio, edit it, and put it on public access. This is 92 to 2000 almost. I mean, that was almost all the way up to 2005 almost, when YouTube really kind of came out, and then we got into video podcasting. But to see the technology go up, and now my friend that I grew up with, I was doing that public access television show with, he's like, well, guess what? Everybody has a camera now. Everybody has a 4K camera in their pocket and can start documenting and upload it, or go live now, as a matter of fact. And hey, we're live streaming. Here we are on the event. And I mean, I'm planning to go to a major festival in October, ADE in Amsterdam, and, doing live interviews right there on site with celebrity people and being able to push that to my Restream or to my Twitch channel. It's amazing how technology has gotten there, but so much content. I think I was watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind the other day, and there's this quote where they're sitting down at the table and the government representatives are there, and they're kind of sitting at this table and they're talking about UFOs, and they're talking about the photography business and how much back then, when that movie was made, how much money was spent on photography and photography equipment, but nobody's ever been able to capture a UFO on camera, or nobody's ever been able to capture Bigfoot on camera, or the Loch Ness Monster. And, but the defense was, and I'm kind of going off topic here for a little bit, but the defense is, hey, I'm a news reporter, and none of my team has ever been able to see a car crash or film it as it's happened, or, lightning strike when it comes down, and be right there when it happens and capture it, because you don't know. It's an unpredictable. But being able to go out and make a music video on a mobile device, come back and use that as a promo piece, I mean, that is in itself art in your pocket, or visual arts in your pocket, that you can take back and even using what you said earlier in the interview, how you made a track, sent to your friend, didn't hear from him for an hour, and then boop, bounces back, and it's like, whoa, what's in my inbox? It's amazing how technology has definitely revolutionized the speed of the game in that sense, which draws me kind of into my next question. Social media, how important is social media to you?
Social media to me, it's a tool. It's a tool. It's something that I feel that I've embraced more. And if you harness it, it's amazing. It's like, I mean, I think you have, like, there's two sides of there's two sides, and then there's like the middle, right? I find myself in the middle now, and I'm trying to embrace it more. I'm trying to get into a habit of it. It is one of those things, like, just like they talk about technology, like, I'm trying to think how to explain this. I once had a conversation with somebody about what is disruptive technology, right? Or, like, the concept of, like, our technology surpassing our humanity, right? In this case, we're seeing a little bit of both with these two concepts, and social media in some ways has made it harder for certain artists to be able to break through, because that metric matters so much, but it's also really taking some artists, like, incredibly far, if not, like, overnight, to stardom, and that's amazing. And on the business side of it, it becomes a metric, which is tough to fully accept sometimes, when and this is all subjective, but you have something over here, it's like, wow, like, like, subjectively, or whatever, like, like, that is what is making millions and millions and millions of dollars, versus this artist over here who might be arguably subjectively, like, just a prodigy, but they don't have the same reach. So there's that, and that's where my struggle is with social media. But I also understand that it is something that you have to harness, and it is something that you really can't separate. It's really important. It's how you reach out. It's how I reach out to my fans or my, my family, my community, outside of just texting everybody. And I can't even reach that many people. But like, you know, you, using it's an incredible tool if you could accept and know how to use it, and use it to your advantage. And it does take persistence. It takes persistence, um, like I'm trying to use this analogy. My friend gave me a really great analogy the other day. Um, you know, if you're trying to get through an ice wall, right, and you're like separated between this ice wall, and all you have is a pick, right? Are you going to like try to hit it at different points all over the wall, or are you going to try to focus on one area until you're getting like basically giving way to it? You know what I mean? And the point being is that you want to give what you want to hit the one point over and over and over and over again, because that's how you make an impact. And so that's where I am now with social media and figuring out what it works for me. I'm always trying to remind myself to, oh, gotta do this, gotta do that. It's like it's basically just being in touch, and I want to share things that I'm doing. So I feel like um, it's it's a cycle with me, how I work with it, but I do want to communicate with people who like are curious to follow me for my music and my stuff, and I want to make sure that they're getting all the updates that they need about what's happening and where I'm going. So it becomes necessary.
Absolutely. I've heard a lot of people say that it's become kind of a beast, or it's become kind of, they know they have to do it, but they don't like doing it, or they wish it was kind of easier. Or there's a way to get out there, and coming into the industry before social media existed, and seeing the rise of social media, and then seeing Facebook be the place, and then it was Instagram, and now people are starting to understand Twitter and how hashtags work. But then TikTok comes into play, and it's like, whoa, and takes it over. More people are going to TikTok than they are Google, and it's just incredible that a search engine is getting outranked by a social media platform.
Yeah,
It's like, whoa,
yeah,
okay, that's kind of crazy. But
yeah.
the next bastion that we're going to look at is where the biggest point is. I think is going to be virtual reality, and the branding opportunity and the experiences that are going to be created in a virtual environment, which obviously will not replace a physical concert type environment, but the exploratory or the engagement that you'll get um, when people start adapting that. And I think it's when it becomes the Nintendo or the Atari, and everyone's going to get one, and it's going to be in your household. I mean, it'll be 3 to 5 years probably before something like that happens, maybe sooner. But augmented reality as well coming into play, and I'm
Hmm.
super excited for what that's going to look like, especially with live shows.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's going to be such a cool treat that this really will be dialed in. I think there's going to be a whole new field of people, jobs that are going to be created for people to go out and create augmented reality experiences for artists. It'll be part of their show and their setup. I think nightclubs and venues will have a spec sheet on hand and say, here's our spec sheet, AR people. And each show will come in and be able to create their own augmented reality with, Facebook and Apple coming out with their glasses soon. Other companies working on just a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stuff is going on out there, and like you said, the metaverse and online with NFTs, crypto, music, technology, always changing. Out of all of that, what has been the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I mean, it's cliche, but it's just keep going.
Hmm?
It's like it's like uh, let's just keep going. Just there's like you don't things may not look the way you always expect them to be, or like you're getting, but like um, it's to keep going. And for me, like as I mentioned earlier, like whether or not my artistry is you know paying for my whole life, my quality of life, my art is paying for my quality of life or whatever. The fact that I get to do it and it's what I love doing is, it's a win, you know? So in that regard, I'm successful for it, you know? And, to add to that, the best piece of advice I also got to was, which is also cliche, but, really is to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, you know? It's like, I even think about all the touring that I've done nationally, and it's, you know, and it was so fun and so great, you know. But I remember even looking back at moments like that and being like, "Wow, this is hard. This is hard," you know. And then like realizing that I mean, some moments were harder than others, but like, you know, at some point, like I wasn't tuned in or present enough to know that like you're gonna look back on this and be like, "Oh yeah, that was cool," even though that was like really intense. You know?
You know,
Um,
I definitely have a lot of people ask me, you know, or one of my friends, the guy I started doing public access with, you know, he asked me, he's like, you know, do you ever go back and watch your old shows? And I go, no, I'm always looking forward. I'm always on a train. I'm like Zoom looking forward, you know, because if I ever take a chance to stop and turn around and look back, you know, not only am I pausing to do that, but now I'm looking back at all this stuff. I'd lose if I had to go back and watch every episode, just one episode. Let's say one episode a day, or you know, maybe let's be frank. Let's say 5 episodes a day. It'd take me 4 years to get through all my old footage just to watch them one time. And it's like I can't do that. It's not something I can put on the background and put on repeat because of it would interrupt me moving forward because I'd have to turn it off to do forward interviews, you know? So I never kind of look backwards, but you're right. When I get that moment, I get to turn around and maybe I'm high up on the mountaintop looking down going, wow, this is really cool, you know? But I like that go forward mentality, that thinking, you know, just don't stop and make sure you're having fun while you do it. Because if you're
yeah, I mean,
not,
like
you know,
exactly.
what's it for?
Exactly. I mean, exactly. What's it for? And it's really important to enjoy what you're doing, and that's the bottom line, you know. And if it's not, you know, self-examination, and I've gotten so much other advice, you know, trying to do all this stuff, you know, but those, at least in the moment of you asking that question, those were the two that really um came about.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up here. But on that note, is there anything
Okay.
else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
Yeah, so tonight I don't have the links, and I was trying to add them on this, but I forgot my email password. So I have to change it. But I'm doing my first test run of a Twitch tonight, and
Okay.
a Twitch live streaming with Michael Rollins live from the mountains. And I'm going to be posting it on my Instagram, which
Okay.
is just at Arroyo Low or at Dane Sandborg. I'm going to share my link tree to you. I don't know if you could
Got it.
share that.
I'm going to
Yeah.
get that
So
in
that,
right. Keep talking.
yeah. So we're going to share that tonight. Tonight's going to be like the debut of that, but then it's going to be on a regular basis, you know, weekly. So that's going to happen tonight.
Hang on. Here we go. Boom. There's the link tree right there in the interview. It'll be up there. Awesome. Congratulations on launching the Twitch channel. You know, I think that that's going to definitely be, I think with everything moving forward, it's going to be a platform where a lot of artists, like you said, they can be exposed and get a lot of exposure and build a following online, you know, without having to maybe get a PR person or a talent manager or a booking manager, all that fun stuff. Um, you know, to help launch their career. I think Twitch is a great platform. We love it. We got some big things that we're going to be rolling out with Twitch here over the next few months. So we're super excited of the platform and seeing where that grows. And I think there has been a lot of artists that have seen success, and especially for the fans. You know, I've been a proponent for live streaming since like 2009, and the interactivity that you can get to connect with fans via live streaming during a show they can hear it. Obviously, we saw what happened over the last 2 years with the boom in live streaming and podcasting. But I love it, and congratulations on setting that up. And definitely going to drop that link tree one more time. There you go. There's the link tree, Arroyo Low on the DJ Sessions. And we also know if people want to find out more about you, we're going to go ahead and drop that website in there for you, arroyolow.com. Find out more information about them. Check out that latest album, 2020. Where's the number one place you want people to go to find that album?
Wherever they would like to get music. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music. It's on Amazon. It's on Bandcamp. So whatever your weapon of choice is.
Awesome. Congratulations on the release. We look forward to having you again on the show in the future, Dane. And thank you for coming on the DJ Sessions today.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Meta. But the best place to go is our website, thedjsessions.com. We have over 600 news stories a month that come out. We have exclusive interviews, exclusive mixes, live shows, contests, events, merch, memberships, all that stuff. VR nightclubs. It's all at thedjsessions.com. This is Darren, and that's Dane coming to you from Lake Arrowhead, a.k.a. originally from LA, for the DJ Sessions presents the Virtual Sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.